First of all, I'd like to thank Pastor Mike and the church for loving our family, taking us in. We went through a transition, and when you have a family, that's hard. That's hard to do when you have kids and you never know where you're going to land. And you guys have welcomed us, you've loved us, and my wife and I often talk about that we couldn't be happier. And with what we see with our kids and their worship, I'm proud of you girls, and I love you, and I just want you to know that. When he asked me this week if I would do this, I had to let that text simmer for a little bit. You don't know this. Because I genuinely did not want to do it. The season that I've been in is not one of feeling freedom. It's one of, Ryan, of feeling kind of broken. But I said yes, and I really thought I was texting no, and it came out yes. And I was like, this is nuts. But this week I had to think about what I might say. And sometimes when you stop and think about where you've been, it doesn't really matter where you're at right now. I'm a recovering addict too. The 18th of this month will be 7 years of sobriety. That's also one of the kids' birthdays. But it was a long road to get to that. I'm not just a recovering addict, but I'm a felon. And I lived this life that a lot of parts of it are things that you would see in movies. I got to the point, Pastor Mike, where an 8-ball a day is what I lived off of, and a quarter pound of marijuana a week, and I drank like a fish. And it wasn't enough. I was still searching for more. It was actually an arrest that got my attention, kind of, because I wasn't done yet. And while facing one set of pretty serious charges, I go out and I get myself arrested again. Not real bright. I get it. But it was that second arrest is sitting in a jail cell when the Lord got my attention. And he said, after this, man, you're on your own. If you don't listen to me now, you're on your own. I lost everything that I had. I was looking at 80 to 100 years in prison between both cases. My family at the time, we moved to Columbus. I found a church. I heard the choir, and I was like, yeah, I could listen to this for a while. But it wasn't the music that really had drawn me. It was the love that I felt. A place that I had never been before. The second time back, at least 10 people remembered who I was. They remembered my name. The pastor of the church at that time, I had been there for just a couple months, and he asked me if I'd come look at doing some work on his house. I didn't realize what was about to happen. During the day, his wife was home, and she would talk to me. I didn't know it, but she had a doctor, and she was like doing all this stuff in my head, figuring out what was going on. And then she'd relay that to him the next morning. And this was almost daily. He would minister to me in a way that only God could do. I wouldn't listen to anybody else. It was like I just didn't hear him. But he was speaking a frequency that I understood. Time passed, and as time passed in several trips to the altar, and God peeling back all these layers of Nathan to get down to the inside of who I really was, it was time to go to court. It was time for sentencing. And as I walk into the first hearing, the judge slaps an ankle bracelet on me. And he says, I'll give you 2.5 years of home detention. So I'm kind of scratching my head, and I'm thinking, man, how does this happen? I just go from 40 to 60 years in prison to to 2 years at home, and I really thought it was going to be a piece of cake. It was not. But as I walk into this next court hearing, the judge laughs at me. He didn't think that I could make it through the first sentencing, and so he just gives me 2 years probation. During that 2.5 years of being locked in my house, it was probably the best thing God could have ever done for me. Because in that 2.5 years, I was on the potter's wheel. He had to take everything that I had, everything that I knew, and he had to get rid of it. And then he could do something. What does that mean? That means when you have nothing left, how many have ever felt like you've got nothing left? All it takes is nothing. When you have nothing left and you're standing there and you're saying, kind of like the prodigal son, he came back home with nothing left. His dad opened the door and he said, come on in. When we've got nothing left, not only is that when he shows up, but that's when he shows up and it's wow. Because he can take a felon, a former addict, and he gives him a family with 9 children. Oh, and he gives them a job that they don't deserve, and he helps them climb the ladder. Freedom in Christ? Yeah. I know a little bit about freedom in Christ. If it wasn't for him, not only would I not be free, but I may not be here today. And so if I can encourage anybody, when you feel like you've got nothing left and you're at your lowest moment, that's when you can lift your hands and say, okay, God, I've got nothing left. Here I am. And watch him do exactly what he's been waiting to do. God bless you.